Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We've got an article here that is really going to be very, very revealing and informative. So let's jump to it and then let's offer some comments after we read the article. So, as you can see here, CEO of crypto lender Delio gets 15 years over $49 million fraud. A botched search of the platform server host cost prosecutors the bulk of their case, cutting it from 2,800 alleged victims to about 1,100. In brief, a Seoul court sentenced Delio chief executive Jeong Sang-ho to 15 years for fraud and for registering as a virtual asset provider using false documents, according to local media. The court ruled evidence seized from Delio's server host was unlawfully obtained, voiding the primary charge covering 2,800 victims and 250 billion won. He was convicted instead on fallback charges covering roughly 1,100 victims and 70 billion won, about $49 million. So here we go. The Seoul Southern District Court has sentenced Delio chief executive Jeong Sang-ho to 15 years in prison over the collapse of the South Korean crypto deposit platform, 5 years short of the term prosecutors sought. Criminal Division 11, presided over by Judge Jang Chan, handed down the ruling on Thursday afternoon, according to local outlet Newsis. The court upheld only part of the prosecution's original case and convicted Jeong largely on a set of fallback charges filed later. The reason was procedural, with Jeong's lawyers arguing that a search and seizure carried out at Gabia, the company hosting Delio's servers, had been unlawful, and the court agreeing. Prosecutors had not guaranteed Delio's right to participate in the search and had not handed over a list of what was seized, the court found, ruling that the platform's database and everything derived from it carried no evidentiary value. That gutted the indictment, which had accused Jeong of defrauding roughly 2,800 people of about 250 billion won, some $176 million in crypto between August 2021 and June 2023. What survived was the reserve case, covering about 1,100 victims and roughly 7 billion won, or $49 million, which prosecutors had added as insurance after the evidence was challenged. Jeong was acquitted in respect of 41 further victims for whom no evidence was submitted. He was also convicted of registering Delio as a virtual asset service provider using a falsified accounting firm report, which prosecutors said overstated its coin holdings by about 47.6 billion won, roughly $34 million. What the court said: Jeong obtained his license dishonestly and took more than 70 billion won from customers, the court said. He had promoted Delio as a crypto bank while lacking the capacity to run it, the judges added, and had evaded responsibility by blaming bankruptcy for his failure to return customer assets. In mitigation, the court noted that outside events had contributed to the collapse and that Jeong had no previous convictions carrying a penalty above a fine. The verdict had originally been due on July 16th, but was delayed after Jeong's team raised the evidence issue and the court reopened arguments. Prosecutors then filed the narrower fallback charges in case the server material was excluded, which is what happened. Delio offered high interest on deposits in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other tokens, marketing itself as a digital asset bank. It halted withdrawals without warning in June 2023, suspended its service that August after failing to secure court approval for running costs, including web hosting, and was declared bankrupt in November 2024. So that's the article, and we wanted to let people know that this is unfortunate, but it's also a sad reality of the industry. So we've read it through once, and it seems that on a procedural issue, the way that the government got the files from Gabia, the company hosting the servers, that was now not going to be accepted as evidence. So there was the fallback, the reserve case, which is still quite, as it says, what survived was the reserve case covering 1,100 victims and roughly 70 billion won, or $49 million. So that's what the government won in their prosecution. So quite interesting, and unfortunately, just a lot of missteps. The person had used fake confirmation from a falsified audit, so that's basically getting a license without really qualifying for the license. And then the person was really not qualified to run the company. It says right here, a crypto bank while lacking the capacity to run it. So not sure who was deeming that, but they certainly proved that they had they lacked the capacity to run the bank. And then the judges added, so it seems the judges also said that this person, this former CEO, evaded responsibility by blaming bankruptcy for his failure to return customers' assets. So a lot of missteps by this. So 15 years sentencing for this former CEO of this failed platform. So just wanted to bring that to people's attention. Want you all to understand that there's a lot of unfortunate people and unfortunate stories out there, so you have to be mindful and do your due diligence and all that good stuff. But nonetheless, we here at cryptodeposit.org, we will continue to follow all things stablecoins. We will continue to follow all things related to digital assets, and then we will certainly continue to follow all things related to the regulation and legislation of stablecoins and digital assets, and we'll cover stories like this related to mismanagement, people behaving badly. And with that being said, we're wishing you all a good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you all may be, and we will see you again soon on another video coming up here on the cryptodeposit.org YouTube channel. Take care, everybody.